hear me? Have I ceased to exist? Have I suddenly become invisible? Sybil, can you see me? Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I go and lie down then. No, I won't. I'll go and hit some guests.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Fawlty Towers podcast, where we're about to hit some listeners.
With another hour of quality entertainment?
No.
Oh, you're just going to hit some of them?
If I ever see one in the wild. It's a dream of mine. Of all the podcasts we have done, of all the episodes, not once have I been in one public transport or out and about and glanced over at someone's phone and saw they were listening, giggling along to us. No.
It's probably just as well. They might be overwhelmed if you identified yourself to them. Or they may not believe you.
I could say, welcome. And I don't think I would do anything.
No.
Other than take great pride. Unless they were crying and pressing unsubscribe.
Yeah, I would take their phone and make sure they've rated and reviewed us on iTunes.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you this week?
Yeah, good. Yeah, usual.
Yeah.
Well, not the usual.
I've forgotten how to do this.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Not for the listeners.
No. We've had a month off. For one reason or another.
Mostly two reasons.
Yeah. We won't talk about that.
No, we couldn't. Off topic.
What have we got this week?
We've got the Kipper and the Corpse.
Good name.
It is?
Mm-hmm. Bit of trivia about that. Original title was Death.
Boring.
Yeah, I think the Kipper and the Corpse is more descriptive and entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, the Kipper's not really a big part of the story. It'd be better with the sausages and the corpse.
Everyone likes a bit of alliteration.
Yeah, okay.
We can talk about Kippers and corpses, and no doubt we will when we start.
And technically the Kippers were also corpses.
Yeah, technically. Mm-hmm. Or is that technically true? Would you call a dead fish a corpse?
I don't know.
Is a corpse only perhaps a human?
There must be a way to find out.
I can't be bothered.
No, we're not doing it in this podcast, but there must be a way to find out.
Do you have a summary?
I do have a summary. Should we just go with that?
Crack on.
In The Kipper and the Corpse, Basil and Sybil face an extremely unfortunate predicament as one of their guests dies in the night. Basil is initially concerned that an out-of-date Kipper contributed to his fate, but reassured that it did not, his attention soon turns to taking care of the body until it is collected by the undertaker. When Miss Tibbs has a particularly strong reaction to seeing the body and the dead man's friends come to collect him for a meeting, things become a little complicated. But can Basil navigate the minefield and serve Dr. Price his breakfast? Or is disaster a dead cert?
There was something fishy about that summary.
Pungent, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I thought it odd that Basil and Sybil have been running this hotel for around 15 years, and yet they seem to be totally thrown by a guest dying there. I'd have thought that it would have happened before, and if not, there'd be some sort of protocol or procedure that they would know to run through.
Maybe, but perhaps they just panicked a little bit. They did seem a bit flustered.
But that's the point. If they had experience in it, they wouldn't have been flustered and panicked because they would know what to do. And especially when you consider the ages of a lot of the guests.
Maybe it's just luck that it's not happened before now.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's the fact it's a younger person and they've maybe not anticipated it.
They're that young.
He was fairly young. I would say he's 50s. Maybe with this show, probably in the 30s.
Yeah, no doubt. Where do we begin this week?
In the bar.
We do. The Major is sitting with an elderly Mrs. Chase and her mollycoddled dog, and misunderstands when she tells him that he is a little shih tzu.
Yes, what do you call a zoo with no animals?
I have no idea. No, that's an answer to another question.
Do you think you saw this?
Yeah.
Basil comes over and is asked by this lady for a saucer of warm milk for Prince, the dog.
Yeah.
He defers to Manuel because he's lumbered with the people tonight.
I think the Major goes off at a tangent about the dog fighting reindeers and all
probably.
sorts of stuff from the old duffer.
I like the fact you went with mollycoddled rather than pampered, as would be traditional.
Yeah, pampered pooch. It's too cliched for me, as you know, Ian.
You do like a bit of alliteration. You've already established this.
That's true. That's true.
We're introduced at this point to Dr. Price.
Yeah, he orders a drink from Sybil and has another request.
Yes, he wants sausages.
Who doesn't? Well, apart from vegetarians and
You get vegetarian sausages.
Yeah, they're not real, are they?
Vegetarians, yeah, I've seen one.
However, the chef has apparently locked them away, not just put them away, he's locked them away.
It sounds like that's the kind of thing he's maybe been instructed to do. Like, when you leave, lock up everything that's not going in a sandwich so we can't be asked for it.
And so Dr. Price has to settle for a ham sandwich, which Basil is delighted to prepare after he hears of Price's profession.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate range of sandwich options, wasn't it? Ham, cheese, or tomato. Who's going to have a tomato sandwich?
Was it not ham and cheese and tomato?
No, I think it was ham or cheese or tomato. I mean,
No,
you
I
could
think
put
it was
tomato
ham
in with the others.
You know, I think it was ham or cheese and tomato.
Let's go with that because that would be much better.
Yeah, and it's a very standard sandwich, isn't it?
Yeah, you could have tomato in with your ham as well.
Yeah, in fact, I can't remember ever hearing of a tomato sandwich.
You get cucumber sandwiches, which
You
would
do.
be worse.
Yeah, the importance of being earnest, I think. They played a pivotal role or some sort of Oscar Wilde stuff, I can't remember.
An unbuttered cucumber sandwich with a glass of water. Anyway.
Yeah, I think he goes on to sarcastically suggest that Prince should be held in an airtight container.
Yeah, because Manuel's being put to work blocking the draft from the window. I think he's stuffing napkins or something down the gaps in the windows
Why?
so the dog doesn't get blown away.
Not necessarily getting blown away, but so he doesn't get a little draft or a cold.
Yeah, I didn't think they needed to explain the joke about the airtight container. I thought it was fine once he says it's an airtight container, it's fine.
Yeah.
But obviously they maybe thought the line about he could try was too good to leave out, so they had to have the explanation from the Major.
Yeah.
It didn't really fit with what the Major, it was a bit sharp for the Major to be contributing, I thought.
In any case, Basil then goes on to greet a seedy older man who is hurrying up the stairs with his younger companion. Question.
Yeah.
Is she a prostitute?
Well, you hear Sybil talking about her on the phone. So, no, I don't think so. From what Sybil says, this guy's back with a different woman every time.
Okay, but that could be a different prostitute.
No, no, but she then explains why these women are attracted, or why the women have lowered their standards. I think I didn't write it all down, but yeah, she talks about as they get older, their standards are drop.
No, as he gets older, they get younger. She's just commenting on the seediness of the guy.
I don't think they would allow that in their hotel.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I mean, if Basil thought that for a second, even
the fact that they're clearly not married.
Yeah,
he's got no issue with it.
And the age difference. I thought this would be the antithesis of everything that Basil believes in.
Maybe just got bigger things to worry, other fish to fry, as the case may be.
Yeah.
But yes, normally you'd expect him to comment on this.
So it could be, as we've discussed before, another indication of Basil's mental state. So if he is feeling stressed or if he is under pressure with something else, then these things all pile up. But if things are going reasonably well, and in this case he's got a doctor as a guest, there's no obvious problems at the moment, he is happy enough to overlook it.
Yeah, or it could just be that he applies his moral values when he can be bothered or when he wants, selectively.
Yeah.
Like if he sees someone, he said himself, sometimes he just likes to enjoy himself with the guests.
Sure.
So maybe he just picks on folk he wants to pick on.
Maybe. Just does seem a little bit of inconsistent character.
The only
writing.
thing that's different about this is this guy's obviously a return visitor. Maybe they're just happy to keep getting his business and they're not going to, because the first time obviously he came with his wife and there was no issue.
No, yeah, sure. No, I would accept that from Sybil, but in the past, Basil doesn't put business first. We've seen before.
It's true. Oh well.
Who knows?
Funnier things to talk about in this episode, probably. That's why they've skipped over it.
We're now at reception, and with Basil heading to the kitchen, we see Sybil gossiping, as you mentioned, on the phone about this seedy older guy and his history with a different women. But she has to pause.
Yes, as they come past.
Looking for their key. Just then, we are introduced to an under-the-weather guest named Mr. Lehmann.
Mr. Lehmann, yes, that's right. He's here with a group of friends who are dropping him off.
Yeah, friends stroke business associates, I think.
Yeah.
And now, maybe I read this wrongly, or maybe I heard this wrongly. I thought they mentioned, I should have went back and checked. I thought they mentioned that they would see him at 9:30, but I think later on, Sybil contradicts this.
Yes, both of the things that you've just said are correct.
Okay, good.
They do say 9:30, but Sybil talks about lunchtime when we get to the next day.
He collects his key and admits to Sybil that he's not feeling too great before heading upstairs, and in his discomfort doesn't respond to an unsympathetic Basil's goodnight wish.
Yeah, and Basil decides he's going to take umbrage at this. And then Sybil explains to Basil that the man's not well, and Basil, I thought this was interesting, he says, he only had to say goodnight, dear, it's not the Gettysburg Address. Mm-hmm. And the reason I found that interesting is that the Gettysburg Address is famously short. It's like most famous for being a very short speech.
Yeah, but still longer than one word.
Yeah, it's 272 words.
Yeah.
But still, I thought it was an interesting choice to use as an example of...
Sure, you could have used a
longer.
Yeah, fair enough. And Basil can't let it lie when Mr. Lehmann reappears with a request for the morning.
Excuse me.
Yes, Mr. Lehmann, what can I do for you?
Do you think I might have breakfast in bed in the morning?
In bed?
Yes.
Of course, Mr. Lehmann.
Yes, we can manage there, can we do
Yes,
that?
we can. I'll pull you back.
I'm sorry.
Well, most of our guests manage to struggle down in the morning. I wonder if...
A full breakfast or the continental?
Oh, I don't
Our chef does a very good full breakfast. Eggs, bacon, sausage, tomato, fried bread.
The continental.
You wouldn't care for kippers?
Oh, fine. Kippers, yes, thank you.
Toast, butter, marmalade.
Yes, thank you.
Tea or coffee?
Yes. Tea, thank you.
A newspaper?
The Telegraph.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Rosewood, mahogany, teak.
I beg your pardon.
What would you like your breakfast tray made out of?
I don't really mind.
Are you sure? Fine. Well, you go along and have a really good night's sleep then. I'm hoping to get a couple of hours later on myself. But I'll be up in good time to serve you your breakfast in bed. If you can remember to sleep with your mouth open, you won't even have to wake up. I'll just drop in small pieces of lightly buttered kipper when you're breathing in the right direction, if that doesn't put you out. Hazel?
That's a good moment there at the end of the clip where Basil chastises himself, noticing that Sybil's not there to call him on his rudeness.
So he appreciates his behaviour as unacceptable, but I think, again, this highlights the stress that Basil's under in running this hotel, and it goes some way to explaining why he might be a bit narky. I mean, if he's doing everything up at that time to prepare breakfast, lack of sleep, it's... stressful position.
Lehmann's reaction's interesting because he initially doesn't seem to get that Basil's being passive-aggressive talking about the tray. Mm-hmm. Then he must hear all the rest of this.
Yeah, but I think he's so... he just
wants to go back to his room, yeah.
He's dying. He's near to death.
He doesn't know that.
No, but his body does. That's why he's a bit distracted and not really worried about Basil being a bit snappy.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next morning in the
we
dining room...
out, don't we?
We do. We see Dr. Price ordering his long-awaited sausages as Manuel upsets the irritating Mrs. Chase by not bringing Prince's milk exactly as she requested.
She's got a number of requests, doesn't she? She wants the milk to be in a bowl and not a saucer. She wants it to be tepid and not cold. She wants another cushion. And Polly has to help Manuel with a bit of Spanish advice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, unless you were in a very specifically pet-friendly hotel, that you would pander to this sort of nonsense.
No, but I think Sybil explains later that they're getting paid extra for the dog.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but still, the rudeness and, I mean, how much extra are you paying? I wouldn't be putting up with this.
Yeah, she's very rude, and I'm sure she must be based on a real person.
Yeah.
I don't know who it would be, but you see people like this.
Yeah. In the kitchen, and after reading the paper, Basil is unsure about the out-of-date kippers that are being served.
Yeah, Sybil and Terry are both absolutely certain they're fine, and they reassure Basil.
Yeah, this is odd. I'm not sure if I believe that Basil would have this issue. Would you think?
I haven't researched this. When were best before dates? I think there was a thing when they first started using best before dates, people didn't believe them because they'd always just been used to using things until they figured out for themselves that they were not good.
Yeah. I think, in fact, recently a number of supermarkets here have stopped doing that, unless it's used by.
Yeah.
They've taken away the best before, which is just a standard quality as opposed to anything dangerous.
Yeah. So Sybil and Terry are substituting their judgment for the manufacturers, which is obviously going to be cautious. Because you don't want to get sued.
Of course, yeah. Back out in the dining room, and with the two mutts sitting there. Sorry. Manuel further irritates the older one by misunderstanding what he is supposed to do with the milk and the cushion.
Yeah, and then he gets bitten by the dog.
Yeah, at that point, you're thinking,
Yeah, rather than apologise, She is angry at him and then starts acting as though he's Indian.
Yeah, massive amount of racism here. He's
Doesn't
not
he look
English.
Indian?
Nah, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't look English.
She says, don't you have dogs in Calcutta? Just to be clear, that's an odd one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the moustache.
Polly then brings over eggs and sausages and is ordered to cut them up, which she does, to the annoyance of Chase.
Yeah, I think she quite deliberately misunderstands and starts cutting up Mrs. Chase's eggs instead of the dog's sausages. But
Polly's very good at this type of thing, isn't she? Always has little digs at unreasonable people.
yes, and she's happy to join in other people's digs at unreasonable people as well.
Yeah.
She also gets bitten though when she goes to cut the sausages, so the two of them, Manuel and Polly, retreat to the kitchen with the food.
They do, where Basil is still fretting over the Kippers, but is told to take Mr. Lehmann his breakfast.
Yeah, he eventually relents, and meanwhile, Polly is adding pepper and Tabasco to the sausage. Bangers a la bang, she calls them.
Indeed. We then hear Sybil find out about the biting incidents, but informs them that, as you rightly said, Chase pays extra for the dog. Now, these days you couldn't get away with that. If your employees were bitten,
Yeah, no.
you couldn't just say, we're making more money. Yeah. You're not getting any more of a salary or a wage.
Yeah, no, it's good for us. You can just deal with it.
And she has to remind Basil to get a move on.
With the breakfast, yeah. So Basil's obviously got a negative view of Mr. Lehmann already.
He does. Also, we should point out that we are told about the laundrymen who are coming.
It's, briefly mentioned here.
And I think Basil, a little bit of a dig at Sybil, a little bit of a sexist joke, wouldn't you say?
He says there's no job that can't be delegated or something like
Well,
that.
I said a woman's work is never delegated. It's quite smart.
So he heads upstairs to this Mr. Lehmann, who he has these... You know, he thinks he's a rude person already. He didn't go on with him the first time he came in.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore is not particularly surprised when Mr. Lehmann ignores him.
No, but he is propped up in bed.
Yes. His head is lolling around a little bit, but yes, he's in a seated position.
He's staring forward.
He must have died quite suddenly.
Yeah. Was it the night before?
Unless he's fallen asleep in a seated position and then died in his sleep, it'd be weird to be seated.
He may have woken up not feeling too great, so sat himself up to try and compose himself and then
Probably
sadly
died.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's how it would work.
What do you mean?
I would have thought he'd be like leaning over the side of the bed. Sorry, I leaned away from the microphone there. Leaning over the side of the bed, or making his way to the bathroom or something, doing something doubled in agony, or...
No, plenty of people die in bed.
Yeah, well, they're sleeping.
Yeah.
If you're awake and dying, you would presumably react in some way. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe not. I'm not a doctor.
Any coroners out there can let us know.
Yeah, fill in the form on our site.
He has Basil has a bit of a rant, a right-wing rant about striking socialists.
Yes, he does. And opens the curtains, turns the light out, and takes offence at not getting a thank you.
Yes, incredibly, he doesn't detect that something is wrong and instead heads back down moaning about this lack of manners.
Yeah, and it's fairly standard fare for Basil. This is what he's like. He doesn't really take notice of things that are going on around him.
That's true. On his way down, he passes Polly, who is bringing up some milk that he had forgotten.
Yeah.
In the kitchen. He continues this moaning.
We heard this at the top of the show.
We did indeed. But gets much the same response from the team who are too busy getting on with their work.
He goes through to the dining room, and as he does so, we see Manuel begin to prepare the sausages for Dr. Price. Is he putting Tabasco and pepper on them the way that he saw Polly do? Or is he just salting them? I couldn't tell what it was he was doing. He had a cup of something.
Yeah, let's assume it's bangers a la bang.
Yeah, I assumed he just saw Polly doing that. I thought, this is a good way to prepare sausages. In any event, Polly comes in.
A distressed Polly.
Yeah, and announces that Lehmann has died.
Causing Manuel to cover Price's sausages in salt. Yeah, I think it was salt.
Was it salt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before Polly and Sybil head up to Lehmann's bedroom. Basil then reappears and initially doesn't process that their guest is dead.
No, because he's asking about the dog.
Yes. He thinks that there might be a problem with the dog and doesn't understand because he's just brought Kippers to Lehmann,
Yeah,
so
he's fine, yeah.
doesn't make sense. But then, in his mind, it all clicks. All makes sense, and so he sprints. I like it when John Cleese runs. He's got a very distinctive gait.
Iconic, yes. Yeah, I think he has come to the conclusion that these Kippers have killed Lehmann that he's just dropped off.
Mm-hmm. Which is fair enough, I think.
Yeah.
Considering what, we heard his concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. He passes Sybil on the stairs. We kind of see the set wobble at this stage at the top of the stairs. And she says she's going to get Dr. Price.
She does indeed.
This is, well, he's not a psychologist.
In Lehmann's room, Basil at first, I think, tries to dispose of the murderous Kippers.
He's in a frenzy, so
Yeah.
he can't even respond intelligently to Polly's questions.
But she eventually gets through to him that Lehmann has been dead for hours and hasn't touched his breakfast, causing Basil to dance a jig of delight.
He's almost ululating as Dr. Price comes in. He has to swallow it into a sombre sound. Price asks who found the body, and there's a little bit
Okay, but firstly we see Basil hide the Kippers in his jumper.
Yeah, he's trying to get them out the window and he can't get the window open.
Yeah.
So yes, he stuffs them down his jumper.
Tell me about Price then.
Well, he arrives and his first question is who found the body, which leads to a little bit of confusion.
You brought him his breakfast?
Yes.
So you told her he was dead?
Yes.
Well, then why did you bring him... Why did you bring him the milk, then?
Why?
Yes, why?
Well, when he said Mr. Lehmann was dead, I thought he said he's still in bed.
Well, he didn't exactly say he was dead, Doctor.
Well, I said he was pretty quiet.
Quiet?
Exactly.
What were you talking to him about, Basil? Car strikes, was it?
Thank you, Sybil.
I don't understand. He's been dead for about 10 hours.
Yes, it's so final, isn't it?
Basil.
Well, wouldn't you say it was final, dear? I'd say it was pretty bloody final.
You mean to tell me you didn't realise this man was dead?
Well, people don't talk that much anymore. Look, I'm just delivering a tray, right? If the guest isn't singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning," I don't immediately think, "Oh, there's another one snuffed it in the night, another name in the Fawlty Towers Book of Remembrance." I mean, this is a hotel, not a Burma railway. Yes, well, I mean, he does actually say hotel outside. I mean, perhaps I should be more specific. Hotel for people who have a better than 50% chance of making it through the night. What are you looking at me like that for?
And at this point, Sybil takes him to the side and tells him that he has a Kipper sticking from the top of his jumper.
Yeah, we see them now coming down the stairs. Polly's carrying the breakfast. And Sybil notes that someone's coming. This is where Sybil notes someone's coming for them at lunchtime. His business friends.
Yeah. But as they are full, he should put the body of Lehmann in the office until the undertakers arrive.
This is where the problem starts. He should have been left where he is until the undertakers arrive.
Yep, just simply explain to the new guest that the room isn't ready for whatever reason.
Give them the option of cancelling, given that someone's died in the bed. They didn't even change the bedding.
Yeah, give them a small discount and say, give us a couple of hours.
A man's died in the bed. They literally, there's no, unless the maid goes round when they're, but when would she do this? I don't know. Anyway.
Are you worried about catching death?
Or whoever killed him.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if he's dead or not. The fact that another person has been using the bed requires it to be changed.
Yeah. But still, the fact that he's dead as well makes it worse.
It does, sort of, yeah.
Anyhow, yes, as you say, Basil's told to put the body in the office.
And as Sybil makes up his bill, minus the breakfast, why is she doing that? She's in a bit of a tizzy
So that they
about
can
it.
get the money off of his estate, I guess.
Yeah.
Seems a bit much for one night.
Uh-huh. Anyway, Polly calls the undertaker, but has to cover this when Miss Gatsby appears.
Polly's on the phone to the undertaker.
Yeah.
And Miss Gatsby comes in and Basil's distracting her. And he's like bright and cheery and says something. She asks him why he's so cheery.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And he says it's because a guest has died. And she takes that as a joke. And
Hiding in plain sight.
yeah, wanders away. And as she heads upstairs, Basil summons Manuel to grab the body. Birkin hairstyle.
While they're doing that, Dr. Price tells Sybil that he has to phone the coroner, as he can't provide a death certificate, as he's not Lehmann's personal doctor.
Yeah, I think Sybil's initially concerned that he's suggesting wrongdoing, but no, not really.
So she invites him into the office to make this call in private. Upstairs, with the coast apparently clear, they carry the covered body out into the hall, but are approached by Miss Tibbs.
Yes, and she won't do what she's told.
And so eventually sees the dead body and shouts murder.
Yeah, she's very upset, and Polly tries to calm her down, but it's not working.
I mean, it's a slightly unbelievable reaction here. Why would she assume that these people who she lives with and knows have murdered someone rather than someone being unconscious or simply died through
Because
natural
they're covered him with
causes.
sheets and they're trying to sneak him down the stairs
Well, how else would you take him down the stairs? Not try to sneak
in
him.
a black bag.
You would cover him with the sheets, yeah. Well, that's the thing. You would leave him where he is. But in that case, then you're getting two coroners coming in and making it very clear that a body's being transported. Mm-hmm. Not ideal.
That's not ideal, but it's better than terrifying the guests by waving corpses at them.
That's true.
She's so upset that Basil tells Polly there's only one way to bring her out of it.
The good old-fashioned slap.
Unfortunately, she kills Tibbs.
It's quite, if you watch it again, it looks like a proper, it's a near punch.
Yeah.
A palm slap. Palm punch.
If she's not dead, she's certainly out for the count, and that gives them twice the problem.
Yeah. Although Basil does describe it as spiffing. 2 dead, 25 to go.
That's it. They're moving the bodies now. They see guests come up the stairs. So rather than just saying, yeah, he's died, we're taking him downstairs, they try and hide him in a room, but it turns out to be the room of the people who come up the stairs.
Yeah, so Polly has acted as a subterfuger. She's trying to stall them whilst Basil and Manuel bring the two bodies into the guest room.
Yeah, but that's backfired.
Yeah, because they are quite rightly keen to get... I mean, I think they're going out for a walk or whatever and just want to get in and get their jacket or their bag or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's all very sinister.
Yeah, obviously they might be thinking that maybe Basil's stealing from them, or worse.
Worse?
I don't know. Waiting to murder them. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. He's acting very
Yeah,
suspicious.
he locks the door at one stage, and that outrages, I think it's Mr. White. He gets very unhappy.
Yes.
I like Basil's explanation that once they get into the room.
What's that?
He says they were trying to rearrange the furniture, but it didn't work out, so they put everything back.
Yes.
It's almost believable.
However, the plan is well and truly foiled when Tibbs lets out a moan from the cupboard.
Manuel manfully tries to cover it over, but it's not successful.
What does he do?
I think he sings as if it's him getting into a bit of Spanish music.
Yeah, a bit of Viva España.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this can't disguise the truth, and White insists that the wardrobe is opened.
Basil, though, has lost his key, or so he's prepared to make
Trying
it.
to buy a bit of time here. But the unhelpful Manuel helps by pointing out that it is in fact in his pocket.
Yeah, he doesn't get the nod and the wink here, does he?
No. And after the tearful and distressed Miss Tibbs is released, Basil chastises her for hiding in other people's wardrobes. It's fine if she wants to do it on her own.
It's quite harsh. He goes at her quite aggressively, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's you can understand that the Whites are the people he's concerned about right now, but he's completely disregarding Miss Tibbs and her feelings and her state.
Leaving aside how you should treat people and people certainly of her age, from a commercial point of view, you're worried about upsetting a couple of guests who are going to give you a couple of pounds over someone who stays there full time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have been doing it this way.
No.
He maybe feels that he can get away with that because he can explain it to her later once the immediacy of the problem is, or he can get Sybil to sort her out or something.
And things seem to be under control until Lehmann's arm falls out of the wardrobe as well.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, Polly sees this, and this is another sort of trope that we've seen before where Polly has to try and communicate some concern to Basil.
Yeah, no, Basil is terrible at picking up on these signs.
He does eventually realise and tries to distract him by pretending to jump on a bug.
Poor Manuel knows that they're trying to cover something, thinks this is some sort of routine and joins in.
Yeah, does a bit of flamenco dancing.
Yeah, and even Basil's staring at him at this stage. Points out, stop, Manuel, stop. It's enough. Thanks.
I think it's a scene that sticks in my mind.
I think it's really good.
Mm-hmm. We cut to Miss Tibbs' bedroom a little bit later on.
I think this is the scene with my favourite line of the entire episode.
Okay, tell us what's happening here.
Okay, so Sybil's attending to Miss Tibbs, who remains upset, and she's talking about the incident in the wardrobe. She says anything could have happened. And Sybil points out, he was dead, dear, and perfect response. A man is a man, Mrs. Fawlty. That probably rings true for a lot of people, even today.
Yeah.
Miss Tibbs wants to take this up with Basil, and Sybil thinks that's a good idea. She should do that later.
Yeah, fair enough, I think. In fact, again, this is something we've touched on before. This is probably another incident where the police could quite easily be called.
Yes.
In fact, definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You can't lock someone in a cupboard.
Psychological torture.
Yeah. Down at reception, and we see that the Whites have decided to check out and are even considering a place beside the prophylactic emporium.
Yes, that is quite the place.
Yeah.
I wonder if the two businesses are connected.
Before we see Lehmann being deposited in the office where the passing Major remarks that he doesn't look too well. The Major he's not bothered by any of this sort of stuff. He's seen it all before.
I think Basil understands that and doesn't try to sugarcoat anything.
Yeah.
First of all, the Major's asking about the papers and Basil points out he's got it under his arm. Fair enough. And then, after Basil explains that Lehmann is dead, the Major asks if he was shot. And Basil says, no, he died in his sleep. And the Major says, yes, that's when your guard's down.
Yes. And then advises him to move the body as it attracts flies.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Dr. Price, unreasonably at this stage, wanting his sausages.
Yeah, so in the kitchen, Basil prepares them and he hears Miss Tibbs call for him at reception and so closes the door in order to hide. However, this turns out poorly for him as he and Dr. Price hear a scream, and when he goes through to the office, they find Tibbs again unconscious and at the feet of the propped up Lehmann.
Yes. Manuel and Sybil also arrive, and Sybil questions why Basil chose the chair.
And he sarcastically tells her that Lehmann wouldn't fit in the safe and the drawers were all full. So, they try and carry him to the kitchen, but have to make a detour outside when Gatsby walks down. But they're spotted.
Yes, the Whites are pulling out of the car park in their car, and such is the distraction, they have a terrible accident.
And after bumping into Mrs. Chase, who demands that a vet is called for Prince, they eventually get Lehmann onto a table in the kitchen.
Yes, where you can see the sausages are burning.
Why would you be... We've got the drawing room, which we saw once and we don't ever see again, but surely this is a room that could be closed off for this very purpose. It's down beside the entrance.
If you even got the bar that's not open,
yeah,
that wouldn't be a good setting for a farce.
That's true.
Dr. Price comes through to the kitchen looking for his sausages, but is outraged to find Lehmann's body there.
He is. I mean, Basil, I think, is holding the now burnt sausages.
Yes. Yeah, he bundles Lehmann into the hamper, the laundry hamper, and he's taking it to the reception area where somebody's waiting. But Basil goes back to the kitchen and gets further instructions from Dr. Price.
And as this is happening, we see the distressed Mrs. White being taken back upstairs by her husband, as Basil calls for Sybil to deal with the newly arrived guest at reception and goes back through to the kitchen, where he's ordered to wash his hands.
Yes, and scrub the place down, but make the sausages first.
Yeah, he'll take the risk.
At this point, Dr. Price returns to the dining room and is ready to wait for his sausages.
However, he has to overcome a final pre-sausage problem in the shape of Manuel.
Leave it.
No, I take it.
Leave it.
No, it's not time, please. No, please.
I'm sitting here.
It's no lunch till 12.
I'm still having breakfast.
It's finished. All gone, breakfast kaput.
I'm having sausages.
He's not allowed.
Put that down. Look, I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor and I want my sausages.
I tell you, he's finished. Bye-bye, please. Bye-bye.
Now look,
It's finished.
give those to me. Come on.
No, it's not possible.
Is everything all right?
He wants to eat now.
I've been trying to sit down. He keeps moving things from my table.
I'm so sorry.
He doesn't seem to understand that I haven't finished breakfast.
Manuel, let me explain. Ah! You understand? Good. I'll be ready in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, Basil's explanation shocks even Dr. Price.
Sometimes that's the only way you can get through to these Dagos.
That's deeply racist.
Mm-hmm.
He poked him in the eye, we should say, in case anyone isn't watching along or missed that. Quite aggressively.
Very aggressively.
I would submit that this was mimed and not actually done, unlike a lot of the other violence.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Probably taking it too far.
You could have someone's eye out with that.
Yeah, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. Back in reception, Sybil is allocating Lehmann's room to this man who's arrived. And
yes, we see Lehmann's party of 3 enter for their appointment and ask Basil if he knows where he is.
yeah, he tries to cover up at first before determining that they must be from the Undertaker's office.
Yes, and at this point he is sitting on the hamper containing Lehmann. And when he gets this wrong idea, he nods and winks and points down to the body.
They think he means that Lehmann's downstairs. But no, he's in the basket, and Basil attempts to prove it.
By opening it up. But, much to his astonishment, he finds it empty. And in a panic, he asks Polly where he is, and they realise what?
Well, the aforementioned laundrette service has been and replaced the hamper with an empty one.
So all 3 run out and dramatically stop the van.
Manuel's on the bonnet almost. But they do successfully bring it to a halt.
And back at reception, after a very brief shot of a catatonic Miss Tibbs in the bar and an annoyed Price who is now in the smoking dining room, we see them bring back the hamper containing Lehmann and proudly offer it to his associates.
Yeah, one of them's ringing the bell as if he doesn't believe they actually work here.
Well, I think that's reasonable enough. Or certainly not
These
in
random
any...
people just come flying out with carnage.
Perhaps are not in a position of authority.
Yeah. I also think bell ringing is quite rude to begin with.
I don't like doing it, but sometimes you have to. I mean, there's some places where you go to a reception or even a bar somewhere.
If there's nobody around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if there's another person there.
Oh, no, I wouldn't. No, I would just wait my turn. If there was someone... Although, if you're not being addressed, so if they're dealing with someone else, like Mrs. Richards,
Yeah.
you wait your turn. But if you stand for a few moments and the person at reception just ignores you, they might even be busy, but, as a courtesy, you would be expected to be told,
Acknowledged at least.
I'll be 2 minutes, sorry to keep you. In that case, I'd rattle the bell away, no problem. Where were we?
So, yeah, as you said, Basil and Polly and Manuel bring this laundry basket back and explain it's okay, he's in this one. And Polly goes back over the doctor's instructions for the body, explaining why it's in the basket. But at this point, it's cleared up that these are not people from the Undertaker's.
No, so thinking on their feet, Basil and Polly claim that they thought that they requested what?
Linen.
As opposed to...
Lehmann.
Yeah.
Basil loves that one. He's like, brilliant.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
And when Sybil comes through, Basil takes his chance to quickly explain the situation before leaving her to deal with Lehmann's friends as he takes the hamper upstairs.
Oh, he's taking it upstairs.
I've no idea.
Anyway, upstairs. They go back into the room where the body was originally found, only to discover the other guest is now in situ.
Yes, it's occupied by a man and his soon-to-be companion.
Yes, his inflatable friend.
Who are you to judge, Ian?
His flexible friend, that's Access.
Access denied.
Basil apologises and they leave and nothing is said.
No, but it caused further chaos by trying to drop it off in what they assumed to be the empty White's room.
Yeah, well, Polly remembers they left. Mm-hmm. Nobody saw them come back. Well, how did they get their key?
I don't know.
Maybe Sybil gave it to
Well,
them.
I think what we heard actually is that they would go and have a look at these other hotels. So perhaps they didn't check out and they were going to go.
No, but even when you go out the hotel, you hand your key, and that's why, in fact, remember the couple at the start? Got their key from even when they've been in the bar.
You don't necessarily have to hand, and I think a lot of people
can hand
you
it.
can if you don't want to walk around with it. So maybe they didn't.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyhow, they dump Lehmann in one of the beds and realise that Mrs. White is in the other one, at which point Polly just throws the blanket over Mrs. White's head so she can't see what's going on, and they dart back out, apologising to Mr. White, who's emerging from the bathroom.
Yeah, and they're forced to carry Lehmann back down the stairs, but can't use the kitchen as Dr. Price has decided to take his sausage into his own hands.
He seems very pleased with himself.
Yeah, he's getting what he wants.
Yeah, he's looking forward to it.
So at reception, the stress and physical strain of the situation finally takes its toll on Manuel, who refuses to help Basil.
Yeah, on his way down the stairs, he's complaining in Spanish about being very tired, and then he says he wants to quit. He doesn't want to work here anymore.
Yeah, so just to make it clear, they've got the body, beside the hamper in public view at reception, and Manuel is refusing to help lift into the hamper and hide it.
Yeah, and when he's pressed, he just opens the hamper and gets in himself. Says he's on strike.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Lehmann's associates exit the office just at this point. I think they were in there being told of the bad news from Sybil.
Yes. Basil has propped Lehmann up on the coat stand and is standing in front of him, blocking him. It's not an ideal... He is quite a big guy, but it's not an ideal...
No, that's never going to work, is it?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Particularly as one of these people has left his hat on the stand.
Yes.
And wants to retrieve it.
Basil has a suggestion.
He'll send it on. A debate ensues.
Yeah, so Basil shouts at Polly and tells her to get Manuel. Why not just get the hat? Tell Polly to get the hat herself.
Yeah, that would be obvious. It was probably so that Manuel could call Polly a scab.
Yeah.
When she opens the basket.
But before anything is resolved, we get the denouement with all the unhappy guests crowded around them.
Yeah, we're all set up for a big finish. Miss Tibbs arrives. She wants to speak with Basil. The Whites come down from their room. And Basil apologises to them very quickly about their eider-down incident. The woman what was her name with the dog?
Chase.
She arrives and says her baby is dying, and Basil said he was going to call a vet, which outrages everybody else. And Dr. Price comes through to add to the little ensemble, saying that the sausages are off. They should have been eaten by the 3rd, which I think is 3 days before even the Kippers went off.
Yeah, so at this he admits to all the cock-ups, but claims that Sybil will provide an explanation.
We hear him yelling that the laundry is ready, and he then gets in the laundry basket.
Yeah, because the crowd all head over to the reception desk to...
Yes. So while no one's looking at him, he dives in the basket, and the laundry people come and take it away.
Yes.
The Major at this point comes down, and he asks the dead body of Lehmann what's going on. Miss Tibbs looks round, sees Lehmann, and screams. Sybil does her usual.
I quite like this. It was a very metronomic repeat of Basil, 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 and sort of a touch of echo on it as well, as we see him being driven away in the back of the laundry van, although I'm not sure why they didn't close the shutter. Because
they're going to collect more laundry from the next place.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, yes, Sybil at some point must realise that Basil's not coming, but not before the end of the episode.
Quite liked it.
I thought it was very good.
I mean, the ending I'm talking about.
Yeah. We've had a couple of good endings in this series.
Yeah.
We talked in the earlier episode about the one with Basil leaving and then coming back to book a room, and then this one was good as well.
Another strong episode overall.
They're all strong now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Goes without saying.
It does.
Sign was quite good.
What was it?
Fatty Owls.
Anything else for us?
No, I think I've dotted it through the episode.
Okay. The episode was first broadcast on 12th of March 1979. And you recognise Dr. Price, didn't you?
Yes.
Played by Geoffrey Palmer, who was born in 1927. I would say most famous for As Time Goes By and
say so, yeah.
Butterflies with Dame Judi Dench.
James Bond as well.
We'll get there. Also The Army Game, Family Solicitor, Gary Halliday, Bootsy and Snudge. Never heard of that, quite fancy it based on the title. The Avengers, Doctor Who in the 70s and 2007, The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin, The Last Song, Blackadder, we've discussed him before.
We did.
Who did he play?
Oh yes, he was Earl Haig.
Of course he was. And The World Is Not Enough, the James Bond movie, as you mentioned, alongside John Cleese.
Of course.
He's the father of director Charlie Palmer. He directed a number of Doctor Who and Poldark episodes, and is the father-in-law of Claire Skinner. He is the only actor to appear in the top 3 of the British Film Institute's 100 Greatest TV Programmes. What are they? Do you know?
I'm guessing Blackadder, Fawlty Towers, and... there's another one. We've discussed this before.
We have. No, it was Fawlty Towers, Cathy Come Home, and Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who, okay.
Yeah. The Horrible Mrs. Chase was played by Mavis Pugh. She died in 2006, aged 92.
Was she killed by her own dog?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Seems the most likely.
She has also been in You Rang My Lord. Sorry. Now, sorry, I've got a bit of a soft spot for that. Do enjoy it. It's got the best, or my favourite, opening credits. The sequence, the theme tune and the graphics for its time were brilliant. If you've not seen it before, search for Sorry. Opening titles. It's a Ronnie Corbett show. I quite like it.
Okay.
And she was also in Are You Being Served? She was married to John Clegg. I think he starred with her, or appeared with her, in You Rang the Lord and Being Served. Okay, so a couple of the regulars now. We have Gilly Flower, who played Miss Tibbs. She died in 2001, aged 92. She has been in the Two Ronnies, Only Fools and Horses, Beryl's Lot, Red Cars, and Steptoe and Son, amongst others. She was a model and had 7 portrait photographs taken by Alexander Bassano, many of which are still in the National Portrait Gallery.
There you go.
Renee Roberts played Miss Gatsby. She died in 1996, aged 87. She also starred in Only Fools and Horses, the same episode as Gilly Flower. Homesick, it was called.
Okay.
I think we're both credited as Old Lady 1 and Old Lady 2. She's also been in Mike Yarwood in Persons, Doctor Who, and The Duchess of Duke Street. She's a mother of actor Rosemary Francow. She's been in Terry and June, a number of episodes. A famous character face. And her first husband was actor Ronald Francow. And she was also the former daughter-in-law of Julia Francow, who was a successful novelist who wrote under the pseudonym Frank Danby. And finally, Mr. Lehmann, played by Derek Royal. He died aged just 61 in 1990. You may have seen him in Allo Allo, The Setbacks, The Benny Hill Show, Will Shakespeare, Hog's Back, Six with the Ricks, or Brian Rick Presents.
I think that was him they were actually lumping around.
Yes.
The episode.
Well, he started out as an acrobat. That's why he was chosen. He was very flexible and quite light and small, so he could be manipulated physically.
That's clever casting.
Mm-hmm. And he was the father of actors Carol and Amanda Royal. Will we finish up with a little bit of trivia?
Well, you promised us some Kipper trivia.
No, it wasn't Kipper trivia. It was sex doll trivia.
I'm sure at the very start you said we'd get back to the Kipper.
No.
Okay.
You're making it up.
Let's rewind the tape.
You've got Kippers in the brain, Ian.
Maybe we did. Okay. Inflatables.
What have we got first of all? Andrew Lehmann was a friend of John Cleese. He worked at the Savoy Hotel and told him about the problems they had with guests dying in the place. So that was a inspiration for the story.
Okay.
And the basis of the Mr. Lehmann character. Richard Ingrams, he wasn't mentioned, the character wasn't mentioned by name, but Richard Ingrams was a comedy writer and critic who slated Fawlty Towers in a piece in Private Eye, and so the blow-up doll sex pest was called Mr. Ingram in his honour. I'm a doctor and I want my sausages was Andrew Sack's favourite line in the entire show.
I think it's brilliant. I
Yeah.
don't understand why he would even mention being a doctor at that stage. I think it's brilliant.
Originally, they had planned on ending the episode with Lehmann's twin brother turning up, but they found it too hard to get comedy from explaining the circumstance to the brother, and so went with what's broadcast. And finally, Elizabeth Benson, who played Mrs. White, also played Mrs. Heath in Gourmet Night. She played the mother of the little brat.
Fair enough.
Favourite scene?
Oh, I think the Doctor and Manuel fighting over the cutlery.
Okay. I'll go with Basil trying to explain why he didn't notice that Lehmann was dead. Next time we have the anniversary. So until then,
We'll get the sausages out.
oh, social.
Yeah, anyway, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Fawlty Podcast.
That's fine. Cheerio.
Bye.